Here in the studio, Олександр Мусієнко, head of the Center for Military and Legal Studies think tank. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome to Paris.
Thank you very much.
Your thoughts being here in the French capital after what's been a hard slog these past months in Ukraine.
Yeah, correct. And I can say that now, you know, that everyone discussing counteroffensive. And what I can say is that what I need to say is that our counteroffensive had three objectives. And first objective was to liberate territories. The second objective was to weaken Russian forces and exhausted them. And the third objective was to stop Russian from their offensive operation and from their attacks. So if we are talking about these hard times, you know, because it's discussing right now, I think that two of these objectives we did successfully. Unfortunately,
Which are the two?
We exhausted Russian forces and we continue to weaken them. You can see near Avdiivka right now. They cannot defeat and capture Avdiivka during 2 months. The small city, which was encirclement almost for 2 years. They cannot do this. And the third, we also stop them from the huge offensive operations, because if we didn't begin this counteroffensive from our side, Russians has begun, and then they captured all Donetsk Oblast and so on. But what I can say...
But couldn't Moscow be saying the same thing? That especially if we're speaking in a callous and cynical manner, Vladimir Putin seems to not care about sending troops to the front that are ill-prepared and that will get killed. Time is on his side. We saw it with Bakhmut, and are we seeing it now with Avdiivka, where the city will be flattened, lots of people will die, and he doesn't care as long as the Ukrainians are weakened too.
He does. He cares, and I can explain why. Because Russians took a lot of people from the jails. Why do you think they taking a lot of people from jails? Because they are thinking that if they will mobilize a lot of people from the big cities, like Moscow, Krasnoyarsk, Yekaterinburg, and so on, so people will go on to the, I don't know, quiet protest or something like this. Look now on the situation in Russia. Wives, mothers, and so on, they are going to protest to the silent process. Yes, in the social media and so on, return our husbands, return our fathers. That's the process. So Russians afraid because they remember the revolution of 1917. And what the process was, soldiers and sailors came and they provided this revolution. They did it. So Russians, it seems to me, they're afraid, and they're trying to I think postpone that moment when they will mobilize a lot of people from the huge cities, and they trying to. That's why, because they afraid, and Putin cares. What Putin want to show? Russia want to show that they are very strong, they are firm, they have partners such as North Korea, Iran, probably China, and they want to show, they want to, you know, to formulate in our minds that psychological attacks, informational attacks, that Ukraine will lose this war of attrition because they have more people, more power. But look on their potential right now, near Avdiivka, near Kupiansk. Near Kupiansk, there is one village which Russians tried to capture during 6 months. That's also true. Of course, they have more power. We understand this. That's why we address. But
we know, for instance, that the Russians have had time to dig in defensive lines, places like around Zaporizhia, and that if the Ukrainians want to regain the territory lost in 2022, the rest of the territory that they've lost in 2022, it's going to be very, very difficult.
Yes, I agree with you. But we are continue fighting, we are continue these battles, because we do not have any other chance. And what I want to say is that, look, we want to find the way. By the way, right now we can see that on the left bank of the Kherson, continue battles. So Ukrainian forces trying to make wider this space, which we will control, and we will provide offensive operation from there. That's a flank operation, because we understand that. Look, how we can.
That brings us to one of the key questions that's been asked in the last weeks, as Ukraine asks for more funding.
Yeah.
Did they oversell what they were able to do? They sold the counteroffensive, and we all thought about the counteroffensive from last year when they took vast swathes of land, when they retook the Northeast. Here, in this case, it's been very slow going this time around. Did they oversell it? And even now, we heard the Ukrainian defense minister this week saying that that Ukraine had broken through the Russian lines in 2 out of 3 flashpoints. But we're not seeing it. We're not seeing it concretely at this point.
Yes, that's because, you know, the huge battles and defensive operation. We cannot expect, but who knows, maybe we will see, because everything can happen during this war. But we cannot speak, you know, faster breakthrough. We needed time for this, but as I know, our commanders, our Ministry of Defense, our general staff, they are thinking about the campaign on 2024. Because it's very important, and we are trying to find this way. Look, when we are talking about defense lines, of course, they protect Russians' positions. But look to the history experience, yes? We are talking about secret lines. They didn't save Nazi regime from attacks. When we are talking about D-Day, Nazis didn't protect, yes, their forces in France. And also,
but it's been trench warfare since 2014 in places in eastern Ukraine.
Yes.
And so when you right now, because you're in Paris, you're attending a conference at the military school here, and you read the room. How's it going with allies? You know, because we saw it wasn't a great week in the U.S. Senate. Next week there's an EU summit. It's touch and go as to whether or not the aid will be approved there.
Yes, I can see. You know that I can see a good, confident moods from the military authorities here, from the people who I spoke here. But of course, we are a little bit concerned with the situation in the United States. Of course, that's true. But what I can say, you know, I totally agree with Secretary of State Antony Blinken. And he told today that, look, everything that we give to Ukraine, we do not give directly to Ukraine. We are giving to United States, to the companies which producing this in United States, these weapons, and then it goes to Ukraine. So that's very good for America also. But what I can see is that maybe now, this time to think here in Europe and in European Union to be united and to be more strong, produce more, manufacture more. What I can see here in France, I had a discussion about this, that maybe Europe can also provide more role for supporting and to producing weapon, to have a leadership, not only United States. That's very important. And by the way, what I can say, you know, that often I hear that Ukraine doing nothing, Ukraine doing. We are we increase in producing and manufacture our weapons. We will do this. But we expect that we can do this together with France, with Europe and with United States, because I'm totally confident that together we can win this war.
Olександр Мусієнко, so many thanks for joining us here on
Thank you
Press.
very much.